Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Star Wars Expanded Universe. Narrated by Disney, or Lucasfilm. Whichever way you slice it. Legends. So it's been a while since the last I've seen you guys. By the time the final KOTOR comics was uploaded, the video I mean, I was already playing the video game. Video game's like, 40-something hours if you're doing everything, so it took a while to get through. Because unlike Matt Wilkins, I am a video game person. I've been playing video games for a long time. I wouldn't call myself the best. I enjoy games. I come there more for fun. Like Dark Souls, I like watching my friends play it. I tend to get rather annoyed because the game beats the crap out of you. And yes, usually that's my fault. But when you're already having a stressful time at work and stuff, maybe some people get a thrill out of being challenged. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just want to have fun. So, I usually play games on normal. And never anything, play it on hard. Or, I just want to have a good time. Maybe experience a story, maybe resonate with something, maybe get emotions. That's about it for me. So, but these video games are super important. So, of course, I'll be talking about them and have more knowledge than Matt Wilkins does, if you're watching. It was fantastic. The video game is fantastic. If you are not a video gamer, if you're someone who only reads books and only watches movies, or, video games just aren't your cup of tea, I still highly recommend that you watch someone on YouTube. I don't care who. Maybe I think Professor Geek is playing through it right now. Lore Runner, yeah, I don't know if you know who that is, but he's also done streams on KOTOR as well. So that might be interesting for you. Though the canon way to play, if you're going to do it, because there is a canon, because and we'll see how I feel about the Revan novel, because I hear a lot of people are upset with the Revan novel because of the video game. I haven't read the Revan novel, of course, so I can't speak on that till I get to that. But, video games, usually the events happen, but probably not the way you did it. So, the canon way to play KOTOR is as a male, and to do the light side ending. So, basically, this game deals with, it says 4,000 years, although it's more like 3,900 something, before the Battle of Yavin. It takes place literally after everything that we've been talking about together on this channel. The Exar Kun, that war, obviously the KOTOR comics, those all happened prior. They mention events. We have Eula Quildroma mentioned, I think. We have Exar Kun mentioned several times. We get to visit the tomb of Naga Sadow. We even get to find Duran Droma's robes somewhere in this game. So, definitely this game is set up at a place where the galaxy has not had peace in a very long time. You had, the Great Hyperspace War with Naga Sadow, and then you had a 1,000-year peace. And then right after that, you get right back into it with the events on Onderon, then Exar Kun, so the galaxy's kind of been in a constant state of turmoil. In fact, we meet a character called Jolie Bindo at some point, and he talks about how the Exar Kun War was something like 40-something years ago. And then the Mandalorian Wars came soon after that. So the galaxy has been in a state of turmoil for a very long time. The last that we know of, Revan turned to the dark side. So did Malak. And at some point, Malak betrayed Darth Revan, and he is presumed dead. Now Darth Malak is ruling with the remaining Sith fleet and is trying to conquer the Republic. I'm saying non-spoilers right now, though of course any veteran of this game would know what's going on. If you are a gamer, though, even if this game doesn't feel like your cup of tea, I would still say it's worth your time. But anyway, especially if you're a Star Wars fan, which if you're not, why are you watching this video? Also, this is a video game review. I am not going to talk about the video game aspects that much. I am not an expert on video games specifically. I'm just talking about the story. So if you want that, there's plenty elsewhere. Go check out the Act Man if you want like a more video game push or more video game like the mechanics wise discussion. Go check out the Act Man. I'm not the guy for that. But anyway, you play as a soldier in the Republic Army, and you eventually gather a crew of heroes and not heroes to join you on adventure. You end up finding about these things called these star maps, and these star maps are going to lead to an ancient Rakatan. Yes, Rakatan from the Dawn of the Jedi comics. So I think they were introduced here first. The Starforge, which is a kind of super weapon, except it doesn't, shoot laser beams and stuff, because that's not going to happen until the original trilogy. But what we do have in this is basically a facility that can keep spawning and spawning and spawning and spawning ships, and robots. So that way there'll be a never-ending army to fight the Republic. And so that must be stopped. On the way, of course, this is a video game, so you have many side quests and stuff within each level, which I'm not going to talk about. But you visit such places such as Dantooine, such as Terrace from the KOTOR comics. You visit Tatooine, Kashyyyk, Manon, a new planet I think really only introduced for this game, Korriban, my favorite planet, one of my favorite planets because it's a Sith planet, and then a mysterious planet before heading to Starforge. And that is pretty much it. What I love about this game the most is, because, to be honest, Malik is a pretty, I'm evil for the sake of being evil, and it's just kind of whatever. There is a big, I am your father, there's a big twist moment in the game, and I really don't think that would have worked as a movie or as a book, because unless it was in first person. And even still, that wouldn't have the same effect. Because, see, that's the power of video games over a book or a movie. In a book and a movie, you are a spectator. You are a spectator watching events on the screen. But in a video game, especially a video game where choices are important, you are a contributing factor to that story. Now, I haven't read the Revan novel yet, but I hear a lot of people get upset because... Sorry, I spoiled something there. I have to get to that in spoilers. But with things that happen within the game, I think it would probably be okay. Anyway, this game is really good. I enjoy the characters in it. Bastila, especially. Even Karth, he has, an interesting backstory. We have such fun characters like HK-47 and Candace Ordo, a Mandalorian. Mission's okay, she's fine. Resident Droid who just goes beep bop, that's whatever. And then Jolie Bindo. Jolie Bindo has such a unique philosophy when it comes to the Force. But such a right view, because he's still like a light leading person. It's something that Luke finally figures out when you get to his new Jedi Order, where people do get married, people do fall in love, and love is not a hindrance. There is an entire speech that he gives about love. And why it's not love you have to fear, passions can be controlled, it's lack of controlling those passions and stuff that can, it's paraphrasing, but that can lead to the dark side. And if more people, if the Jedi thought the way Jolie Bindo did, there would be no Darth Vader. There would be no original trilogy. Lord Darth Sidious would have been defeated in the prequels. But, alas, that's not the case. This game is a crumb of showing the infallibility, or not the infallibility, the fallibility of the Jedi. The stuff that's wrong about them at least the Jedi of the past. I think Luke's Jedi Order finally got it, and I thought from then on forward, they were as they should be forever and always, like Luke's Order. I think that was the pinnacle of all space and time, in all time periods, all eras, all everything. That was the pinnacle of the Jedi. But when we get to KOTOR 2, you will see how this entire topic about the Jedi and their hypocrisy and how they kind of, have their own failures will lead into an even bigger story, or not a bigger story. I think it's actually, in the grand scheme of things, a smaller story, but an even bigger discussion in the next game with a character named Kreia, which we will discuss in depth in the next review, which will be for KOTOR 2. But yeah, overall this game is really good, and I think the story's fantastic, and it influenced so much of things that came further. I mean, look at all the Old Republic MMO, the novels that are based off of that, the Revan novel, so much. Even Darth Bane, so much stuff dealing with Darth Revan and stuff, all being connected and such. This is a very big, important part to the Star Wars Expanded Universe, and whether it be a YouTube video, YouTube series, or buying the game yourself, you can get it for like $9 on Steam. On sales, like Steam has crazy sales during December. You can get games for as short as like $2. So it is, whatever, if $2 or $10 is more worth your price range, you should definitely get it at some point, because it is well worth your time. Or watch it on YouTube. Please, just experience the story in some way. And without further ado, I'm going to get into spoilers. If you have not played this game, or have not watched videos on it, or haven't looked up a Wikipedia article on it, it's time for you to leave. Before I even get to my notes, I spilled it over on this already, on this video, and I had to cut it out. Oh my gosh, the twist. The twist works so well. The twist in this game. Again, I was trying to talk about it before in the non-spoiler, but I kind of screwed myself because I was trying to be non-spoiler, right? But it works better than the novel or a movie could, because you're a spectator. But in this game, you are Revan. And that's the twist. You find out. You've been hearing throughout this entire game, this evil, this smart, strategic, dark lord of the Sith, Darth Revan, only to find out that it's you, that it's been you this whole time. And the only reason the twist, it didn't work, as well after having already known it, but that very, very first time, the twist works so well because you've invested several hours into this game, getting to know the characters, getting to know the world. It's a lot different than reading a novel or watching a movie. I love reading. And you can get to know a character really well through reading. But when you personally, figure of speech, through your character avatar, you're the one interacting with these characters. You're the one empathizing with them, talking with them, even in a sense, loving them. I know, like, BioWare, the people who made this game, the same people who made the Mass Effect trilogy, which is another video game series, sci-fi. I love that series, and they doubled down on that super hard with, like, after every mission, you want to go and talk to those companions on your ship. You want to go out of your way to go to their room and talk to them, because you just want to get to know them better, because they're written so well. In fact, there's romance options and stuff too, of course, and you get so attached to these characters, right? You get to the end of the third game and you're crying. At least I was, if you have heart. Garrus is a bro. By the way, Matt Wilkins, anyone who doesn't read books, anyone who doesn't play video games, you need to watch somebody play Mass Effect. If you like sci-fi, I guarantee you'd enjoy Mass Effect. Go find a way to watch that on YouTube. Watch someone. I don't care who. Actually, I do. Watch someone play Mass Effect. I think you'll enjoy it. I'm sure you got other things to do, everyone, with your lives, but when you find time, it's a good time. Though you'd have more fun playing it. But anyway, the point is, the twist works so well because of that fact. And it's a really good twist for that reason. I don't think it would hit as hard if you were watching a movie or reading a book about it. So I think that is the wonder of video games as opposed to, any other form of media, because it's the most interactive kind. Because you can basically get all the best aspects of all three mediums in one. You can have that film aspect. You can have that book aspect where you go more in depth with characters, because games are getting longer and longer. You get like 60-hour games. I played Persona 5. That game's like 100-something hours. Persona 5 Royale, which is just like a director's cut, right? More stuff's included. That's like, 130 hours of gameplay right there. So that's a lot of time to connect with characters, and, so video games are the only, medium where that's possible, and that's really, really cool. But anyway, off of video games, I'm going to talk about some parts of this game that I want to discuss, and then after that, I'm going to leave you be, and I'm going to start playing KOTOR. Well, I'm going to have work, but the next time you see a video will be KOTOR 2, so that we can review that, and then move on to the Revan novel. Well, actually, how I'm going to do it is I'm going to read a couple chapters in Revan, because a couple of it happens a little bit after the first game, but most of it takes place after the second game. So that's how I'm going to try doing that. But anyway, let's get into it. So we learn early on that Karth's homeworld was the first to be attacked by the Sith. When Revan and Malak returned as Sith Lords, Karth's home was the first to be attacked by the Sith. And remember, this is only shortly out. This is only like 4 years. 4 years have passed since the Mandalorian Wars. So this has all started when people are still rebuilding and trying to heal. We get to Terrace. What's interesting is that in the comics, on Terrace, there are aliens left and right. But now, due to the Sith kind of like overtaking it, aliens are not allowed on the upper city. So I guess this version of the Sith is, I know Palpatine was racist or speciesist, but so is this particular Sith order. Unless you're force sensitive, then they'll just use you like they do at the Academy. Gadon, who was in the comics as well, he's at war with a rival gang. This is one of the side quests. Well, it's a side quest, but you have to do it in order to progress the main quest. I only mentioned it because Gadon, who we met in the KOTOR comics, he's in the Undercity. He's a black guy. I don't know if that really helps you understand who that is, but if you reread the KOTOR comics, look for a name called Gadon. That's that guy. But he's blind now. Mission, who's a Twi'lek girl, a young girl. I think she's like, 14? In this game. She joins when Zalabar, her Wookiee companion, is in trouble. We, later on, of course, save Zalabar, and he swears a life debt to us, which is really cool, because you get, like, sort of that Han Solo sort of feeling. And Canderous, the Mandalorian, who joins our party. He's one of the most, next, after Bastila and Jolee Bindo, Canderous is one of the most interesting companions. And the thing about him is, if you see his alignment, he's much more toward the dark side. I mean, of course, he's not a Force user, but he's much more down on that spectrum, and yet he stays loyal to Revan regardless. Regardless if you choose the light side or dark side path, he will stick by you. And that's a loyalty that I love. I do really love, you get, as I said, you have moments where you get to talk to your companions on the ship, the Ebon Hawk, and you have these conversations with Canderous, and you get to learn more about the Mandalorian culture. That's something that we really missed. We got snippets of it in the KOTOR comics. We got snippets of it here. I just really like learning about the Mandalorian culture. I know we'll probably get it in the Karen Travis books, at least in some extent or another, even though they're about clothes. But I love the Mandalorians. Next to the Jedi and the Sith, who have the most interesting history, I love the Mandalorians. I don't always agree with them, but I love their culture. I think it's fascinating. The Jedi Masters kind of suck. Replaying this game with hindsight is interesting because you get to Dantooine after escaping terrorists, which, by the way, Malik blows up. But it's interesting because, it's so far ago in the past, he can't use a super weapon to destroy a planet, right? So what does he do? He gets, like, a whole bunch of his ships to just rain fire upon the entire planet. He just gets, like, a massive Sith, like, ship fleet to just start bombarding the planet because they have no super weapons back then. But, the twist of the game. The Jedi Masters kind of reprogrammed your mind because Bastila didn't kill you. And so you are essentially a new person, which is why I think it works. Because once the twist happens, you kind of might, start to remember a bit of who you are. And so when you get to the Revan novel, if he has more of a personality, that's fine. I got to play as him for one game, and that's fine. But novels are always more canon than video games. But anyway, they're talking to you about all this stuff and whatnot. But the entire time they're talking to you, first time through, you wouldn't really realize it. But now going through it, once you know that twist, they're just blatantly lying to you. And they know the truth and they keep it from you. And that's absolutely horrible. They're using you for their benefit. Sure, it's for a good cause, to defeat a Sith Lord, whatever. But they're using you. And that's pretty messed up. Lying to you straight to your face. It is sad how the Mandalorians went from this great army to this great force to most of them being nothing more than mercs now and bounty hunters, which will happen again in the future. We get to see my favorite droid from this era, which is HK-47, the assassin droid who turns out to be Revan's personal assassin's droid once everyone learns who you are. You get to Tatooine, and I only mention this side quest because the Mandalorian show kind of ripped it off. There's a mission where you have to go find a crate dragon because there's a star map behind it, but you have to kill it. And I was like, it's different, sure, and it looks better because it's, like 2020 when it came out, but it's the KOTOR side quest. It's found it funny. Vong. I uploaded this to my YouTube channel, so you probably saw it. But also, I will probably be posting a bit more of clips from the game to kind of try to tide you over along with KOTOR 2 scenes until I have finished the game so I can do my review for you guys. But Candace talks about this weird, like, asteroid ship he found out in wild space or the Outer Rim. And it sounds a lot like the Vaughn. You can find it on my channel if you want to know what I'm talking about. Go open up another tab if you're on PC. You can see that, and it's a really interesting conversation, which I don't know exactly how that would work, because I know by the original trilogy, sorry, not by the prequel era, we had scouts already. We had Vong scouts. But what if the very first scout showed up there? Because, as far as the scout knows, there's no life. They haven't seen any life. And then life starts shooting at them. So that doesn't mean it's time for them to invade. They know nothing about the galaxy they're in. All they know is that there's life in this galaxy. And another thing is that it probably takes a very long time just to get back to the fleet in this, like, in-between state of in-between, in the void, But if it is the Vong, it's really cool. And if it's some other weird wild space, weird anomaly, also super interesting. I love that it's ambiguous enough to where it could be anything, but it definitely does have some hints that it could be the Vong, which is really, really cool. Which means that Candace Ordo would have been the first to have seen a Vong without realizing it. It's crazy how the Wookiees have a hard time. We make it to Kashyyyk, and we see that they're being enslaved by the Circa Corporation. The Circa Corporation is basically, you know, later on we have the Moonless Banking Clan and all that, and Circa's kind of like the banking organization in this game, though they're back in the Sith, like they're funding the Sith. And they have a bunch of slave Wookiees on Kashyyyk, on their home planet. They're slaves. And it just seems like the Wookiees never get a break, right? You have I guess in the prequel era, they're fine. But then, original trilogy, again, they're enslaved. And then you know, past episode 6, you have fire raining down upon Kashyyyk. You know, just never getting a break. There's a secret bounty hunter's quest. I did not complete it. I watched a YouTube video on it because it gave me dark side points every time I did it. And I wanted to be mostly light, while not completely, because I didn't agree with everything the Jedi were all up and up about. And I didn't want to preach dogma. But it is a really fun side quest, though, from what I watched of it. It's basically a bunch of bounty hunters, assassins that are pulling the strings behind the Republic, you know, killing off opponents, killing off terrorists, this and that, so that way they can be the true ones in power, I guess. Which is interesting. It's kind of like what Palpatine does, but on a much lesser scale. Also, I only mention this because it was my favorite side quest of the entire game, on Manon, which is the fish planet thing. There's a murder trial side quest. That entire side quest is a whole lot of fun, and gives some character development for Jolie Bindo and whatnot. Then we finally get to the twist, which I've already discussed, how you are Revan. And so that whole scene is pretty interesting with him and Malik, and then Bastila fends you off, which is the only really bad thing about a video game, because at that point you're so leveled up, or at least if you've been doing everything, you're so leveled up, you easily beat up Malik, and it's like, the only way you could have made that work is by making him, just buff him up so much in that stage, and then lower him down in the finale, because you should have been able to destroy him. But they arbitrarily have to have Bastila sacrifice herself so she can turn to the dark side. Ooh, spoilers. We go to Korriban without Bastila's sad face. And this is the most interesting part. I mean, most of this level isn't that interesting. It's just the Sith Temple and the Korriban ruins of the ancient Sith. But we get to learn the Sith code. I think this is the first time we actually get to hear the Sith code. We don't know when it was, finally established that this was the Sith code. But it's basically the antithesis to the Jedi code, which is, there is no ignorance, there's peace. There is no peace, there's something, there's passion, You can find this stuff online. I probably will have posted it on here at some point. But I just love that. I love learning more about the Sith. Darth Bane trilogy is still, it's either my number 2 favorite book so far in the entire expanded universe, or Dark Plagueis. But still, all that Sith, like philosophy and stuff, I don't agree with it. Absolutely not. But I love reading about it and learning about it. Also, during this level section, I pick up Duran Qualdroma's clothes, so you get to see the fate of those guys from that short story in Tales, where they're skeletons and dead. I find interesting, you go to one of these, which we haven't seen anything from this guy anywhere else. We just get mentions of him here. Ajanta Paul, who was apparently one of the first Siths. And you see his spirit, and he's just so depressed. He's like, we reached for all this power. We fought one another. For what? And he just seems so down. It just really shows the folly of the Sith way. I still think, despite everything, too much light side is bad. Too much dark side is bad. Being so rigid with emotion is bad. Being too much with your emotion is really bad. Again, I think Luke found that balance. But the Sith way is utterly self-destructive and ultimately can never work. But I love learning about how they go about thinking and stuff. And I think it's one of the most interesting parts of this game. We try to go to the Starforge, but we crash land on this planet with the Rakata. And it's crazy. What sucks about the EU being discontinued is we still don't know what happened with the Rakata. You know, in this game, we learned that there was a mysterious illness that made them start losing their connection to the Force. And eventually, all of them kind of just, some of them are Force sensitive, but none of them can really use the Force again. And it makes them really, really sad. And, you know, they used to be the height of the infinite empire, the Santari Empire. Sorry, little Babylon 5 thing. I just like that. But it went from that, you know, to, as far as we know, this is the only planet they still live on. And there's just a couple tribes left. They're almost nothing. In fact, by my guess, they're probably extinct by the time we get to the prequel era. And that's just really sad. I mean, yeah, they were terrible people back then, but it's crazy how far you can go, how far you can be at the top, ruling everything, and then ruling nothing, being utterly inconsequential. This is cool stuff. Bastila's fall. She, of course, falls to the dark side. You make it to Starforge. You go through the worst level of the entire game. Men upon men upon men upon men upon robot upon robot upon robot upon turds upon turds upon turds. It just never freaking ends. Worst level in the entire game. Made me want to kill myself. It's awful. But eventually you make it to Bastila. And you have to fight her. And you keep fighting her and fighting her and fighting her. And there's only really two ways that can go about this. She either dies or she lives. If you preach Jedi dogma to her, you know, just what the Jedi in the prequels teach, what the Jedi here teach, you'll have to kill her. And that's not the canon ending. The only way to save Bastila, which completely goes against the Jedi's philosophy, but it's the right way. It's what Luke understands. The only way to save Bastila is to say, I love you. Your love for her, your devotion, your trust in her is what brings her back to the light. Not Jedi dogma. Your love, genuine, compassionate, romantic, for her. And that brings her back to the light. And that just shows how wrong the Jedi of the past really are. Jolie Bindu comments on this, and even he has doubts, though. He fought in the Exar Kun War. He trained someone against the wishes of the Jedi Council and married her. But she did join Exar Kun. But he couldn't kill her. And she killed many other Jedi before finally being taken down. So for him, it didn't work. And yet, he still believed in love. Still believed it's something worth fighting for, something worth risking it for. I'm telling you, Jolie is wonderful. And this game, if you think this game is deep on critiquing the Jedi Order, it's not. Because it's going to go even harder in the next game. But yeah, so that happens. And we defeat Malik. And seemingly happily ever after. Of course, we know that is not the case. And that is the end of Knights of the Old Republic by BioWare. A fantastic story. It's great that they went so far back so they can, you know, have their own sandbox, do something themselves. And I love the questions it brings up. I love how it critiques the good guys we've always known. Because that was one of the biggest things about the prequels. Was the failure of the Jedi. Had they thought more like Jolie Bindo or Revan, perhaps Anakin would have never become Darth Vader. If he had actually genuinely been loved by his fellow Jedi. I know Obi-Wan did, so already he's going against the Jedi, even if he doesn't realize it. Allowing Qui-Gon to be a bit more on him. You know, Anakin, I think in episode 3, goes to Yoda for help because he wants help. And he just preaches dogma. And episode 3 happens. Order 66. If only things could be different, then we wouldn't have the Star Wars universe, would we? Overall, fantastic game. Love it to death. That last level pisses me off to no end, but other than that, love this game. Love these characters. And I'm excited to see more of them in the future, because I know we'll see them, some of them in KOTOR 2, and some of them again in the Revan novel. So hope you'll join me for all of that. There's still so much expanding universe content to get through together, and I hope you'll join me on that journey. So until next time, guys, bye-bye. May the Force be with you.